Hey guys, it's Bridget with San Diego Seed Company, and we're in my greenhouse and we're talking about what you should be planting in February in zone 9 and 10. Now, for a lot of you guys, February is a little bit of a hard season because it's cold, it's rainy, it feels wintry, but you also got that gardening bug and you're thinking about planting your tomatoes, your peppers, your eggplants, all of those things. And if you're not from Southern California or zone 9 and 10, it can get confusing. So let me break it down for you here. So February is a prime time to start your seeds of warm season crops that need many, many weeks to get started. So those are things like tomatoes, eggplants, peppers, things that you would start potentially in a greenhouse or indoors on a heating mat that you would baby. But it's also a time of the year where we're doing final sowings of our cool season crops. Those are things that you can easily direct sow in the ground that are not going to take a very long period to grow. Their days to maturity isn't really long. And they can grow one last time in the cool of late winter before spring hits. Let's actually go in the garden and take a look at some things that are naturally popping up easily because of all of the rain. So when you're walking around in your garden in February, especially after a rainstorm, that's a really good time to take a cue from Mother Nature of what will grow easily and happily during that time. Check this out. We've gotten a bunch of rain and I have a huge patch of lettuce growing right here. It's popping up like basically a weed. This is all lettuce. What happened was I was processing some seeds. I dumped some seeds here, didn't think much about it. Boom, now we've got a patch of lettuce. The reason why I want to show you that is because it's really important that during this time of the year in February in zone 9 and 10, if you're going to do any more plantings of cool season crops, you want to do crops that are quick to grow, that are easily direct seeded, because you don't have enough time to plant more of things like broccoli, cabbage, and cauliflower. And actually, if we go look at my cabbage and my broccoli, you're gonna know why. The days are getting longer, the temperature is getting warmer, we're moving into spring, and so the conditions to grow big, healthy, beautiful heads of cauliflower and cabbage are slowly starting to wane. And even though it feels like cauliflower, cabbage, broccoli weather right now, in a couple of weeks, that's gonna stop. And things are gonna wanna go to flower very quickly. You can actually see my arugula here going to flower. The days are getting longer. So yes, I can plant more direct seeded crops of arugula, but I need to harvest them quickly and eat them often, because they're gonna wanna go to flower over and over again. In this particular situation, I wanna harvest these and then pull these out and make room for warm season crops. Here's one of my last heads of cabbage. He looks absolutely beautiful. I've got some last little bits of lettuces over here that need to get harvested. You can see I've been harvesting plenty of cabbage and cauliflower and broccoli out of the garden, but they are about done. Now, a word of the wise, it's very easy during this time of the year to want to go to the nursery and you get all excited and you want to buy a bunch of 6-packs of broccoli, cabbage, and cauliflower. That's fine, you can, but when you stick them in the ground, they're never going to produce these big, beautiful heads like you would if you planted them earlier in the fall. My recommendation to you is to save that space for warm season crops, or do cool season crops that are very easy to direct sow in the ground and grow quickly so you can get them out of the ground in time for your tomatoes, your eggplant, your peppers, your squash, your melons, all of your warm season crops that we are so giddy to plant right now. Okay, so here at San Diego Seed Company, I want to make things as easy as possible for you, and boom, we've done it. We have a calendar for you that very easily lists exactly what you should be planting each month for zone 9 and 10. If you're an 8, I'm sorry. You can use this calendar, but the dates are going to be slightly off because your season is going to be a little bit different. Now, if you turn to February here, every month has a list of what to plant, and it has vegetables and it has flowers. It also has herbs and perennials. Now let's go over this a little bit together to make sure that you understand the way that this works. So we've got these guys listed here in alphabetical order. So everything from beets to turnips we've got listed. Now, some things are going to be your final plantings for the year if they're cool season. And you'll actually see they have a little asterisk on them, and that asterisk tells you last succession planting. And what that's telling you is the season for that is coming to a close. Now, if you don't have this calendar in front of you and you were curious about whether or not you have time to plant something, always look at the days to maturity. Do you have enough time to get that crop up and growing and harvested in that period, let's say it says 60 days, where the conditions are really good for that particular plant. We make it easy for you and we tell you exactly here. So this is saying last month to plant things like beets, carrots, although you can do some carrots year round, fava beans, your heads of lettuce are really gonna start to not do as well. And granted, I just want to say for expert growers out there or commercial or professional growers, obviously you can do some of these crops year round. But for the average gardener that doesn't have all of the resources, this is following our seasons and is going to make it the most easy for you to grow these crops organically and in the most holistic way possible because they're growing in their favorite season. So continuing through here, we've got all of these cool season crops that you are going to plant the last of. Going down, we've got flowers. Right now is a great time to plant flowers because the soil is moist, it's cool. You can actually get the plants to a good size before they start to bloom. And then we have herbs and perennials. So as you're looking at this calendar, especially if you already have one at home, you might see that on the February for vegetables, there is no warm season vegetables on there. Well, why is that? Well, in part because February is such a kind of weird month and you're not necessarily planting those into the ground. You're starting them from seed on a heating pad in a controlled environment, in the greenhouse, inside, outside, but you are controlling their environment and growing them because they're not gonna thrive right now outside. So that's really the difference here. And I just had this fabulous idea for next year's calendar. I think we should color code it warm season and cool season. So I got to remember to do that for next year's calendar, which it takes us about, I don't know, 11 months to make the calendar, so we better get to it. Here's a list, and if you actually flip to next month, you can see there listed is tomatoes. I just want to say that everything in gardening is pretty fluid, and depending on where you're at and your circumstances, this may not be the exact protocol of what you follow. I'll give you an example. 2 years ago, I got really excited. I started my tomatoes in January because I had nothing else to do, and it was great, but I had 600 tomato plants that were ready too soon to plant out into the garden, or actually this was at our Ramona farm. And so I learned a hard lesson that it's actually too soon to plant tomatoes in January for my particular circumstances. Yours might be a little bit different. Again, this is a guideline for you guys of when to plant for zone 9 and 10. It's gonna help you be successful in the garden, but everybody has different microclimates and different conditions that might allow you to start a couple weeks earlier or a couple weeks later.